Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Darkside Phil here, and welcome to Ask the King. It's my show where every other month I answer your questions right here live on stream, and also, of course, on YouTube when you get a chance to watch it. One of my long-running shows and one of the longest things I've ever done. This is actually episode 77, if you can believe it. 77 times I've sat down to answer your questions in this established series. Pretty crazy. So, welcome to the show, everyone. We got a good variety of questions from the forums, from Twitter. We got one patron question this time around. A good variety of stuff, I would say. And if time permits, which I think it should to this time, we will field some questions live from the live stream chat at the end of the show, so that we get a good variety of stuff on. Now, I'm just going to say this. Earlier this year, I posed the question. I believe this was, I think, in like March or April. I said, does Ask the King still need to exist? Because I'm now a live interactive streamer. Not only do I take the opportunity to interact with all of you on every single stream I do, I have set streams almost every day or every other day that are considered chill streams where we play a game that isn't necessarily time consuming and or the most riveting content, but the reason I play those games is so that we can interact. Essentially, you guys get Ask the King every day. Now, do you get as full form descriptive answers as you're going to get on today's show when we have a dedicated show just for this? No, absolutely not. A lot of the times I'll just gloss over a question or do an abridged answer. All right. But that being said, some people still want me to do this show and some people don't. And what I can definitely tell is that there's been a shift, because usually when I ask, oh, it's Ask the King, post up your questions, I would get a plethora of questions influxed, and I would have to go, oh my God, I have to go through 10, 15 pages of questions and pick the best ones. Now I could barely get like 2 pages of questions, okay? So what that's telling me is that, much like a lot of my other long-running shows that I used to do for YouTube, that Ask the King maybe doesn't really have a place anymore. I got something stuck at the front of my hat, and it's distracting the hell out of me. I think it's a piece of hair. I just got it. It was a piece of hair. Okay. So maybe this means that maybe like a lot of my other long-running shows, maybe Ask the King doesn't really have a place anymore in my content. I mean, just think about shows like Release Day Unboxing, The Week in Preview, etc. That at one point, when I was a full-time YouTuber and I wasn't doing interactive streaming every day, it made sense for me to be doing those shows. It doesn't really make sense anymore for me to be maybe doing a show like this. I don't know. Again, what I'm going to do, I want to see how the show goes today. If the questions are good, the interaction's good, people are still enjoying the show, I'll keep doing it. But I don't want to keep doing a show as like a remnant of the past if people feel that maybe this isn't something that's needed anymore. So let's see how today goes. Fair enough? All right. So just a reminder, Ask the King is a show that happens every 2 months. The next episode is going to be scheduled for late September, because today is July, obviously. It's actually July 25th, 2019, FYI. And so there's many ways you can post up questions to get answered. Number one, and the primary way to do it and the best way to do it, head over to thekingofhate.com, which is my website. Go to the forums, and on the forums, there's already a section there established for Ask the King. Already, as of right now, there's a thread for the next episode. You can post up your questions. That's the best way to get your questions answered, because I take my time on days when I'm doing Ask the King to read all the questions in detail in that thread and pull the ones that I feel would be the best for the show to answer, and that's what I did today. So please do so. Now, also, there's a very short window of time on the very day that I broadcast Ask the King where I accept Twitter questions at my Twitter over here at They Call Me DSP. I took probably maybe 5 questions from Twitter today. Nothing too major. So that's another way, but primarily the best way would be to post them up on the forums. If you're a patron, okay, there's a perk level if you're a patron of mine right here at patreon.com/DarksidePhil, where you're guaranteed to get your question answered on the show. So if you have a burning question you really want me to answer in depth, that would be a really great way to get it done. Check it out on Patreon, okay? Fair enough? That's how you get your questions answered on the show. And of course, as I said at the very end of the show today, if we have time, I'm going to be fielding questions from the stream chat. All right? All right, everybody. So, let me prop up my headphones. Look. Oh, yeah, look at my headphones. There you go. Now you can see my headphones on camera. Okay, I think it's time to get started. Let's jump in to our very first question, which we're going to take from a patron. This one is from Planet Jeff, and Planet Jeff asks the following. He says, "Hi Phil, I hope you're well. I've been enjoying your Minecraft streams. If I can't catch it live, I usually get caught up via YouTube. I even remember that one that you did years ago, as well as that fan-built world that you visited. That was weird because everyone was in your face constantly. However, I have a question about your current run. So you're in survivor mode, and previously I thought it was supposed to be dangerous to sleep outside without some sort of enclosure, because you're likely to be attacked by monsters at night. But I've recently seen you often sleep outside, like when you're harvesting wood or a long way from a resting place, and you sleep and nothing ever happens. Was there a change or a patch to the game that made outdoor sleeping not quite as dangerous anymore? I know it's kind of a lame question, but I was genuinely curious about that. So keep at it, Planet Jab. Here's the thing. I'm not a Minecraft expert. I never played Minecraft back in its heyday when it was like super popular 5 to 10 years ago. I only started playing it once it basically wasn't kind of a big mainstream thing anymore. So I started playing it. The first time I played it, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, was about 4 years ago. And that was when you're addressing when I played with the fans. I checked out the fan worlds, and, you know, they were all there and interacting or whatever. And I did a little bit of survival mode on my own. I think it was like maybe a month's worth. And after that, I got bored with it. Because keep in mind, back then, I wasn't doing interactive streams. It was just me playing and kind of ignoring the stream chat. And because of that, I really felt like a lot of opportunity for making them fun was lost. But I didn't really understand that whole interactive thing back then. It wasn't until December. Well, I take this back. It was actually late last year I did an Indies marathon. Okay? This is a goal that I held for a sub-goal for the streams. And we hit the sub goal. And so I did an Indies marathon. And this Indies marathon was great because it allowed me to play games that normally I wouldn't play. And people actually nominated Minecraft and said, Phil, you haven't played Minecraft in like 3 years, play it again. So I did, and because now I had been an interactive streamer, for the hour and a half I played Minecraft, I was just talking with my audience constantly. We were doing stuff together. People loved it. They were like, oh my god, this is like so cool and refreshing. This is like the perfect game for Phil to do for a chill stream. So then I made an ongoing series, and I've been playing it pretty much weekly ever since December. I've now played over 80 hours of Minecraft since December of last year. Pretty nuts, don't you think? And this has all been an ongoing story, an ongoing developing world that I've built and grown and done crazy stuff in. It's been a hell of a lot of fun. But Planet Jeff is correct when he says that basically, over the course of me playing this, what I did is I realized, oh man, you need to sleep. Because if you don't sleep, number one, you got to stay up overnight and fight a ton of monsters. And number two, if you don't sleep, they have these flying monsters. I don't even know what they're called, but they're flying. They look like flying manta rays that like come straight at you. And they'll try to bite you and shit if you don't get sleep. So I realized I need to have a bed on me at all times. And that when I was out exploring, whether I was chopping wood, simply exploring the landscape, looking around, I need to have a bed with me because as soon as night hits, I got to throw that bed down and get to sleep so I can wake up the next morning and not have those monsters coming after me. And also, it just seemed very beneficial that I'm not having to survive against hordes of monsters at night, okay? I'm being told by the stream chat that those creatures are called phantoms that come at you if you don't sleep after a couple days, okay? So here's the thing. I just did what I was told. You know, I keep in mind these streams are interactive, and people who've played Minecraft over the years have instructed me on things to do. And I've been told, you know, just sleep, you'll be fine. So I did. Now, primarily you thought, oh, if you're going to sleep, you should sleep inside of a safe area, like in front of my area, fenced in, or inside of a building, or inside of a village. But I just started sleeping wherever and realized basically as long as you go to sleep not with any monsters near you, you'll wake up in the morning fine. I think what it is, the way that Minecraft works, at least the version I'm playing on Xbox One, is that enemies will spawn, but only when you're within a certain radius of them. So if you plop down a bed and you have no enemies near you and you go to sleep, you're going to wake up fine. Now, you might run into other enemies afterward, but those enemies will be on fire because now it's the morning and the light's out. So they're going to die within moments anyway. So it seems to me, at least in this version that I'm playing, as long as you're nowhere near an enemy and there's nothing in your viewing area, you can go to sleep safely and wake up the next morning no matter where you're sleeping, and you're fine. You know, I've slept on mountaintops, I've slept down on bogs, I've slept everywhere possible you could think of, and I haven't really had an issue with it. So you're right. Now, again, I don't know if that's different from the old Minecraft. I have no idea. I didn't play the Minecraft back in the day. It's very, very possible that it was much more difficult back in the day, and they toned the game down from where casual audiences to play the game and not have to worry about that kind of stuff. I don't know, but in my experience, it's pretty safe to sleep at night, okay? All right, so there you go, Planet Jeff. Thank you very much for your ongoing support and contributions. That's your question answered for being a patron. All right, again, guys, if you want to get your questions answered for sure on the show, a great way to do that right here would be to pledge to my Patreon, okay? I just received a $2 tip from Yamcha Sounds Disappointing, saying, what's your overall opinion of Polish people in Poland? I don't have any kind of a general opinion about any race a creed, or nationality at all. I don't care about that stuff. All right, let's continue on. So now we move on to the forum questions. These are people who posted up their questions on the kingofhate.com forums, and I went through them this morning, picked out what I felt were the best ones, and now we're going to address those questions. Okay? Here we go. All right. We start up with a question from Mora Moria. Let's get into this. This is going to be a very, very detailed, interesting question and a detailed answer that I'm going to give all of you. All right? Let's get into the meat of this. This is something that actually was a hot topic on one of my streams last week, so it makes sense to get into it tonight. Fair enough? All right, here we go. So Moria asked the following question. He says, this is a lengthy question, but I want to ask about your opinion regarding the intellectual property of transformative content that I think is interesting enough for this event. For this, I'll give you a preface of a concrete example that applies to some, if not many, games. In the case of Sekiro, it shows the Activision software terms of service that you have to agree with in order to use or access the program. It basically explains in detail the license that you're buying. This is a limited license that states that you do not have the right to use the software for commercial purposes. You can only do it for personal use, amongst other conditions. There's, however, a section that explains how you may share user-generated content, but it doesn't cover it for commercial purposes. So this is my question. Since you're technically not buying a license to stream such games and make a profit from it, you're only relying on the concept of fair use to do it. Which application falls into a gray area? And what are the limitations that you think are reasonable when someone appeals to this concept when trying to defend their content from a copyright claim? Or in other words, how transformative must content be to be protected under fair use? Woo! All right, this is going to be a very legal mumbo-jumbo kind of a question. All right, we're going to be talking about fair use and transformative content. Bear with me. I've been doing this now for 11 years, starting off on YouTube and now on Twitch. I think I've got a handle, at least on the generalities of what is considered fair use and what isn't at this point, but none of this is actually legal. And what I mean by that is, no matter what I say, no matter what anyone says, no one's right. And the reason I say that is because it has never gone to court. Never once has a game publisher and or a game creator sued someone for either making a Let's Play or a live stream of a video game and said, we don't want that on the internet, so we're suing you to take it down. No court has ever made a legal ruling on it saying, oh, that is considered for fair use under the Transformative Work Protection Act or whatever. No one's ever done any of this, okay? It's never, ever gotten that far at all. There's just been sometimes companies throwing takedown notices on YouTube or throwing takedown notices at Twitch, and it's never progressed past that step, all right? Will it one day actually get that far? Maybe. And in fact, I would almost say it's an inevitability that one day it's going to happen. It's going to go to court and get hashed out. But everything that I say as an answer to this question is pure speculation, all right? Based on my personal experiences. Just saying that up front so everyone understands, okay? Now, first of all, before we even get in to the legality of what's protected by law and what's not when it comes to making gameplay and gameplay streams, there's one important thing that I should tell all of you up front, okay? Terms of service for any business whatsoever on the planet are not legally binding. All right, let me explain what I mean by that. You go to use a game and a big fucking giant blanket screen of text pops up that you have to supposedly read and agree with before you can play the game. You just click through it. That's supposed to legally bind you to a contract. It doesn't. All right, you want to know why? Because you could put anything you want in that terms of service and it's not legally binding. When you boot up Sekiro, it could literally say in the terms of service, by clicking accept, you give us your firstborn child for the rest of your life. Every child you pop out is our legal property. And just because you clicked accept doesn't mean that that's legally binding whatsoever, okay? Basically, what's in a terms of service contract has to be legal in order to actually be binding, okay? So, for example, when these companies are putting out contracts saying you can't use this game for commercial purposes, that actually isn't even true or legal because it's never gone to court. You see what I mean? Because there's never been a court ruling saying, oh, a Let's Play or a gameplay stream is protected as a transformative work. That terms of service that they put there is just frivolous fluff and it means absolutely fucking nothing. Okay, until it actually goes to court, nothing there ever means anything. Same thing with Twitch, with YouTube, any terms of service doesn't mean that it's legally binding. YouTube could say a million things in their terms of service. Oh, we could take away money whenever we want, but you could take them to court and end up getting the money back depending on the situation. You see what I mean? So That's the bottom line, is none of this is actually true or legal. It's just a bunch of companies trying to cover their own asses, and they throw these big things out there. Oh, this will cover us in a blanket agreement. In reality, until someone gets sued, nothing is legal or not legal. No one knows. All right? Now, in regards to what are you actually purchasing when you buy a license for a game? First of all, when you buy a video game, you're not buying the game. You're not. I paid $60 for Sekiro. You do not own Sekiro. You don't. The publisher, From Software, owns Sekiro, okay? You own the rights to use that software for various purposes. Now, the main intention of the game's publisher is that you just play the game and have fun with it. But people over the years have found so many different ways to use video games. I'm going to make a hash-up montage. I'm going to do a full Let's Play. I'm going to live stream that game. I'm going to do a criticism video about the game, exploring the best and worst things about the game. I'm going to do a formal review of the game. All of these things are just potential things you could actually do after purchasing the game license and having access to that video game and direct capturing, you know, or just recording snippets of that game, all right? Now, the reason that people are seemingly are able to do playthroughs, let's plays of video games, live streams of video games, all right, seemingly, is for two reasons. Number one, because it seems like game publishers just don't care that people are doing this. They don't care enough to say, man, because some streamer bought my game or licensed to my game and is playing it on Twitch, they're revealing my whole game, and now, oh my God, the whole thing's revealed, now it's ruined, no one's going to buy the game. No one's really seemed to feel that way. If anything, it's been the opposite, where most game publishers are like, man, that guy's playing my game on Twitch. Look, it's getting my game exposure and attention, and now people want to go play it for themselves. It's free advertising, so I like this, okay? It's not to say that one day a game publisher might not completely change their attitude about this, but in general, the last 10 years I've been a content creator, that's been the general mentality, is that it's okay to play these games at launch as long as you're doing a full Let's Play and you're not basically being insanely biased or whatever. Basically, if you buy the game, you can stream it and make a Let's Play, and no publisher really cares, okay? Now, what we, the content creators, have been kind of not necessarily, I don't want to say hiding behind, but what we've been using as our rationale as why it's legal to do what we do is because we look at other case law and precedents, all right? So I'll give you an example. Right now, if I buy Avengers Endgame, all right, I could not play the movie on my stream here on Twitch. That's completely illegal. They consider it an illegal rebroadcasting of an original copywritten work, and I would be shut down immediately, okay? If I were to rebroadcast Avengers Endgame right here on my channel and do live commentary over it, I would still be shut down. That's a live rebroadcasting of a copywritten work, and there's nothing you can do about it. If I were to take Avengers Endgame and chop it up and do a 20-minute summary review of the movie with commentary over it, now it's a legal gray area. Is that considered a transformative work? Is it not considered a transformative work? It has to go to court, okay? And essentially, when things like that have gone to court for movies and television and music and the like, in general, the rule of thumb that's used is the amount of the original work used, and if the actual final product is considered something that's been transformed. So if you're watching my video of Avengers Endgame to just watch the movie and get a summary of it, probably not covered as a transformative work. But if you're watching my video to get an actual review, man, was it good or bad? What could have been improved about the movie? That's considered commentary or criticism, and that would actually be protected under fair use. But then there's other things like, well, how much of the actual real movie did you use in your video or your work? If the movie's 2 hours long and you used 1 hour 45 minutes, you basically gave away the whole movie. That's not covered. If the movie's 1 hour 45 minutes long and you used 5 minutes, that's probably super safe. You see what I mean? So even in the realm of things that have already gone to court and there's laws about it, it's still kind of a gray area. It's not 100% certain what's okay and what's not, all right? Now, some people over the years have brought up the case of Mystery Science Theater 3000. For those of you who don't know what this show is, this is a show where there's a comedian and a group of voice actors, and basically they have puppets, and they talk and commentate over movies. The movies that they use are considered public domain movies. What does that mean? It means that these movies are so old, and basically no one wants them because they're so bad, these movies, they don't make money anymore, okay? that no one owns them anymore. They're out there and people can broadcast them as much as they want. No one really owns the rights to them anymore. They're just public domain. You could do whatever you want with said movies, okay? So they took these movies and they rebroadcast them and they do live commentary over the entirety of these movies, okay? That's perfectly legal. That's why a show like Mystery Science Theater 3000 exists, because they use public domain movies. They're not using Avengers Endgame, for example. Wouldn't be covered. It's a hot new movie. All right. Now, the same guys that make Mystery Science Theater 3000 also make a series called Riff Tracks. What Riff Tracks is they don't show any of the actual movie that they're doing commentary over. All they do is they watch the movie themselves. They record their commentary in a studio while they're watching the movie. Then they sell that commentary as an audio file on the internet, and they say, if you already own the movie yourself, press play now. While you press play on our commentary track, it'll be just like you're watching Mystery Science Theater 3000, except you're watching the movie yourself while we're commentating along. See, that's how they get around the legality of, oh, this is a modern movie that isn't public domain. Let's still do commentary on it, even though we're not showing the movie. See what I mean? So that's how they do that, okay? Now, in the regards of a video game is a very different medium than television, movies, and the like. Why is a video game very, very different? Because it's an interactive medium, all right? You cannot play a video game and have an exactly identical experience to someone else, because it relies on you, your actual controller inputs, how you react to things you see and do in the game and on the screen. It's very different than just a movie that doesn't change no matter what. When you watch Avengers Endgame, the first time you watch it, the millionth time you watch it, it's the same movie. A video game, literally every time a person plays it, could be a completely different thing that you see on the screen. Now, there's millions of variables involved, and yes, maybe 1 out of a million playthroughs are completely identical, but you see what I mean? Like, in general, most people create their own thing when they play a game. And what people have argued, all right, is that when you play a video game, all right, you are creating an artistic work of your own based on your input, your skill level, what you're doing with the gameplay, what you're doing with your commentary as well, if you're recording your own commentary, that all that is unique and different than just buying the game license. See what I mean? So if I pay $60 to play Sekiro, if I actually copy the code of the game and remake it on discs and hand those discs out, that's illegal. I illegally copied the game and sold it. That breaks the terms of service agreement with them, okay? If I, I'm trying to think the other, if I illegally pirate it and put it out on the internet, I buy Sekiro, I rip the code off the disc, and I just put it out on the internet, like on Pirates Bay or whatever. That's illegal. That violates the terms of service agreement. But the second that you pick up that controller and you do something in the game, you just made a unique, artistic, transformative work that is not protected by them in their terms of service, saying that, oh, that's our property. No, sorry. That would be the same as saying, okay, you went to the store and you bought paint, and you went home and you used a paintbrush to paint on a canvas. That would be like saying the canvas company owns the painting, the actual paint company owns the painting, because you bought their stuff and made it with it. That's ludicrous. If I make my own transformative work using the tools you provided when I bought them from you, that means that's my work. Okay? That's my protected work. All right? And that's what people have argued for years when it comes to video games, that Let's Plays and or live streams are transformative works, because if it weren't for this input, it would never exist. All right? Now, all that being said, there is also another argument. Well, okay, but if it weren't for us making the game code to begin with, you wouldn't be able to make your art. And so we feel that since you are making your art within the confines of the world that we've created, we own some of that. Maybe that's true. That could actually be true. It could be that From Software does actually legally own a portion of every Let's Play of Sekiro. Maybe not 100%. In fact, you could never even legally argue 100%, because again, if it weren't for the gamer playing the game, that Let's Play wouldn't exist. So maybe From Software is entitled to say 20% of the profits if you were to use a Let's Play to make money, okay? Or maybe they're entitled to nothing because you already paid up front to use their license, right, to play their game, and a court would rule no, they're owed nothing. So it's, again, it's never gone to court. There's no determination whatsoever, all right, at all about this. So from my perspective as a Let's Player, as a live streamer, when I buy a game, I'm buying license to use that game to make videos with. I can't steal the game and redistribute it illegally and pirate it, but as long as I am playing the game, doing legit commentary, criticism, whatever you want to call it, while I'm playing the game and making a unique artistic work as a playthrough of that game, that should be protected under fair use law. Is it actually? We don't know. It's never gone to court. So unless it goes to court, we'll never know. In general, I don't think game publishers nor content creators want that. We enjoy the relationship that we have right now, where we're understood that we're making artistic works and we can just do what we want with said works. There have been times when some companies have been pretty asshole-ish about it, where maybe there's a Let's Play or a review of a game that's negative and they did try to take that down off of YouTube or whatever. You know, and again, until someone gets sued, we'll never have a definitive answer. So I hope Moria, said your name wrong, that I have given enough kind of perspective that this at least makes sense now. But again, the bottom line is we don't know. When it comes to movies and television, it's not even defined there. Like, how much of a percentage of a work can or can't be used, and it's just never been hashed out. So without it being hashed out, there's no way to ever say. So we'll see, I guess, moving forward. If anything, I don't think you would think eventually it would go to court for something, but at the same time, it seems like, again, they both content creators and publishers enjoy this relationship that we have. We're both benefiting from it. So why would either of us seek to end that relationship by suing and then basically having a definitive answer that may not benefit either of us? You see what I mean? Because that's the thing. If a publisher now says, oh, it's our legal property no matter what, say goodbye to your free advertising. No one's going to be doing Let's Plays and shit like that if someone else owns the work once you make it. Flip side of that, if a content creator now owns it 100%, maybe the publisher would be pissed off and say, well, that's not right. And, you know, now you have other things that we're going to try to make money on the back end in other ways to nickel and dime the consumer. So we'll see moving forward. All right, but that's the situation. It's a gray area. But as long as we believe that we're making a unique artistic work when we play a game, that's how we feel that we're protected by fair use as a transformative work. Okay? Cody Carl's cheered and says, how many actual cheers and tips are actual for people with good intentions, and how many do you think are trying to bait me out? I have no idea. Hey, tipped me $1, and basically, he's siding with the publishers and saying that the game publishers have the right to do whatever they want, because when you buy that license, you don't have a right to make a Let's Play. I just talked about it in depth, and I told you, my perspective. So there you go. Keem Scarce MK1 has resub for 3 months in a row and says, hello, DSP, glad to be a 3-month sub. Shout out to Ghost Politics. No idea who that is, but thank you for the 3-month resub. Okay, continuing on. The next question is from The Emperor, and he asks the following. He says, Phil, first off, I'm happy that you continue to make your content through thick and thin. My first question is, bear with me, I'm a big fan of games considered interactive dramas. Games that are heavily story-driven, but have minimal actual gameplay. Games like Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, Life is Strange, etc. These games, at least in a point in time, and to an extent now, are a decisive issue, and there are two sides to it. The side that I'm on, which always says that a game is about entertainment, and if it's entertaining, that's all that's going to matter. The other side is that gameplay is the only thing that matters, or at least the most important thing in a game, and if they don't have it, it's not considered a game. One example is the reviews of Beyond Two Souls, which were extremely polarized. What are your thoughts on interactive dramas, and do you consider them games? First of all, I don't think anyone can argue that it's a game, alright? It is a game. It's a video game, you buy it, you can interact with it, you can create an artistic work with it, as I just said, a gameplay experience. It may be a very severely limited gameplay experience compared to other games out there, but it's still a game. Now, is it a good or bad game? That's the subjective thing that people are judging when they make game reviews and the like, and they say, oh, this game sucks because it doesn't have legit gameplay, or doesn't have enough gameplay or replayability or challenge fact. That's the other major thing I hear about these games. They play themselves. You could literally just sit there tapping, not paying any attention, and you beat the game because they don't really have any skill level to them. So is it really a game, or is it really an interactive story, right? No, they're definitely games. They're objectively, when you look at facts, they're definitely video games, no matter how you spin it. The question is, are they good? And that's really where people get hung up and get into these disagreements, okay? Now, let's be very honest and frank here, all right? I like narrative story-based driven games, all right? I do. I really like them. And over the years, some of my biggest and most successful playthroughs and commentary segments have been on those type of games. Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, Until Dawn. I mean, that one was actually out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting anything out of Until Dawn. That ended up being one of my most successful and most entertaining and most applauded playthroughs that I've ever done in my entire existence on YouTube. Because it's a narrative-based situation. There's a mystery aspect. You don't really know what's going on or what the outcome's going to be. There's a lot of suspense and drama, which allows me to have interesting commentary on it. Of course, there's interactions with quick time events and critical story choices that could lead to one thing or another happening in the game. I mean, I was so invested in Heavy Rain. At the end of the game, I thought that the kid was drowning. And when I thought the child had drowned, I said, fuck this. I picked up my controller, I closed the game, I said, I'm doing that segment over again because I refuse to have this child die. That I was so emotionally invested in the game's story that I refused to have the child die because I might have fucked up a QuickTime event, okay? So that being said, pretty interesting that those games can be so emotionally investing and really grip you, because I feel they actually have some of the more dramatic, robust stories, character development, and the like, compared to other games these days and age when a lot of the stuff is just about gameplay. Well, let's do a direct comparison of those style of games versus Sekiro. Does Sekiro have a story? Of course it does. Does Sekiro have a robust, interesting story with tons of character development that you actually care about anyone in the game? Fuck no. That game is about the combat, about perfect parries and fancy, flashy, flourishes and getting counter hits on your enemies and defeating overwhelming odds, giant cool bosses and the like. That's what Sekiro is about. You're not playing Sekiro, wow, I got story of the year out of Sekiro. That's not what you're playing it for. You see what I mean? But different strokes for different folks. People play video games for different things. Some people play video games just to chill. I really thoroughly enjoy just playing games where I can sit here and relax. I'm not really caring about the game at all. We're talking to you guys. And yeah, there's a game I'm playing and I have to pay attention a little bit, but I more than likely am more than paying attention to you guys and talking with you. Then there's Sekiro, where I'm like this the whole time. Oh God, period. Oh, desperate to survive. Oh. And then you got the hybrid games, In a case like these games that the Emperor is bringing up, instead of being focused on the gameplay, you're focused on the story. When I played Detroit Become Human last year, I was guessing, man, what's going on behind the scenes? What's really going on with these androids that are going rogue and now having this unique consciousness? How did this happen? And, I was giving all speculation on what I thought was going to happen and stuff. That's the cool thing about those games, is that they make you think versus they make you react. See what I mean? Reactionary gameplay versus actually thinking about something going on. Completely different styles of enjoyment that you can get out of video games. If anything, that's a cool testament to video games, is that there's now a variety of games, much like movies and everything. There's such a big variety of stuff out there that you can get a game and play it for so many different reasons and still enjoy it. Much like if you go to see a movie, you can see a comedy, a slasher flick, a drama, a romance. All those movies are completely different experiences that you can get enjoyment out of for various reasons. You see what I mean? Same thing now with video games. It's not just like, man, there's 10 games that came out this month and they're all platformers and, they're all like NES-style old school platformers and they're all, it's the same deal. It's not like that anymore. Now every game is a robust and different experience, which is really cool. So, in regards to the Emperor saying, what are my thoughts on interactive dramas? I like them. I really very much enjoy them, and I think that they end up being some of the more entertaining things that I do. Like I said, last year, Detroit Become Human, actually was a really good playthrough for me. I played through it twice. Of course, the first playthrough you do of games like that is always going to be more popular because no one's seen any of the story yet. The second time around, you kind of know what to expect, and you try to do things differently to change the variables and see if there's different outcomes. But I did 2 full playthroughs of the game, and people loved them both times. You see what I mean? It's rare in this day and age when I can even play a game twice in a row and people would care about the second run, but these narrative-based games, a lot of the times I can do that. Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, Until Dawn, the Life is Strange series. Now here is the pitfall of a game that's a narrative-based experience, all right? Take a look at Life is Strange as a series. The first game had an ongoing mystery element. There was a girl who had disappeared and or died at school. No one knows the true story of what happened, and that's kind of an ongoing thing going on behind the scenes. At the same time, there's a girl with supernatural powers to manipulate time, and she's using these for good and for bad, really, because the outcome of what she does changes things in the world that's really messed up. In addition to that, there's this weird supernatural element that a storm is coming and is going to destroy the town. So you've got all this crazy stuff going on in Life is Strange. You're like, wow, this is a really good plot element. I'm hooked the whole time you play the game. You're riveted on what's going to happen next. Then you got Life is Strange Before the Storm. No supernatural element, no actual powers, no ongoing mystery, nothing. It's boring. It's a story about 2 teenage girls messing around, making bad decisions. It's boring as dirt. And it's so inferior to the original Life is Strange, you see? Life is Strange 2 is kind of a mixed bag. You've got another kid with supernatural powers with no explanation, but I don't think the story is anywhere near as good as the ongoing mystery and elements of the original Life is Strange. So I think it's better than Before the Storm, but it's nowhere near as good as Life is Strange 1, okay? So that being said, not just that series, you can see with these narrative-based games how you can have high highs and low lows. And unlike a game like Sekiro where, it's all about the combat functioning at a high level at all times, in these games, because they're not really focused on the gameplay, you need to actually have a very heavy focus on that narrative being gripping at all times. And if you have an entire episode, like the last episode of Life is Strange 2, they spent the majority of the time hanging out with hippies in the forest. I don't know who works over at Don't Nod. Hippies in the forest aren't interesting. That's why they live in the fucking forest. No one fucking wants to be with them because they're fucking boring, weird people. No one cares about that shit. I don't want to do a whole episode where I'm with fucking hippies in the forest. So that's what I mean, like... You have to have gripping narrative if you want to have those games be successful. And if anything, Life is Strange shows that's not the case all the time. You know, they had this really great first season, and then they completely lost their way and don't know what the fuck to do with the series anymore. It's pretty silly. So, I like narrative-based games. I do. In fact, Telltale Games, which went out of business, had some of the best narrative-based games with The Walking Dead Seasons 1 and 2. I would say Tales from the Borderlands was really good. You know, they had a few really... Oh, of course, no one's going to forget... oh my god. What the hell was it called? The one with the Grimm's Fairy Tales characters. I can't remember what it's called right now. But anyway, those games were all amazing. Alright? Sadly, Telltale Games fell apart when, again, they became oversaturated, making the same kind of game over and over, and a lot of the plots weren't very good. You know, Guardians of the Galaxy, meh. Definitely Game of Thrones was terrible. You know, season 3 of The Walking Dead was terrible. So because of that, Wolf Among Us, thank you, it was called Wolf Among Us. But yeah, do you see what I mean? Like those games where, again, it depends directly, not on the level of gameplay, but on the level of the narrative and how well written and gripping it is. So it's kind of a pitfall. If you're going to make a narrative-based game, you have to make sure you have this insanely good story, or else who's going to care about it? Because you know the gameplay element isn't the main focus. You see what I mean? So it's kind of a mixed bag. I would say I love narrative-based games. They've become some of my more interesting playthroughs, but now that I've actually played some narrative-based games like Game of Thrones, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Life is Strange Before the Storm, I now understand how they're not necessarily the best thing ever, and they could really be a huge ripoff, because what incentive do you ever have to go back to play that game? None. So unlike a game like Sekiro where there's tons of, you know, I want to play through this game, it's very challenging or whatever, you're going to get a lot out of it. If you play through a story narrative-based game and it sucks, the story's bad, now you feel like you wasted your time and money. You know what I mean? So my opinion is they can be great. They are real games. They do deserve respect. They're just another kind of artistic expression like any video game can be. It may be very different from a game that's very gameplay heavy and centric. That doesn't mean it's a bad game, but at the same time, those game developers have to be very careful to put out great narrative, or else what the hell are you paying for? Right? Okay. Shao Kahn Artist 87 tipped me $7 and said, "Is there any way you can post the codes of the Mario Maker levels you play on Twitter?" Well, Shao Kahn Artist, they're all publicly available in the videos. In my Mario Maker 2 streams that I've been doing, every time I bring up a stage, it's in the video, the code. So I don't know why you would want me to post those up on Twitter when you could just watch the videos, and if you like that stage you're seeing me play, you could just, you know, do it yourself. But no, I'm not keeping a running tally of those stages. I'm just doing them live in the videos, and then, like, I'll delete the emails that I get. So I don't have, like, oh, I've played these 25 stages, and here's all the codes. I don't have, like, a running database of that. So sadly, I wouldn't be able to share that on Twitter, okay? Thank you for the $7 tip. That is the biggest tip of the day, Shao Kahn Artist, and I appreciate that very much. Thanks so far, everyone who's contributed. Let's continue on. Okay. All right, I see people being assholes, and now they're all going to get timed out. Got to time out a couple people being dickheads. Hopefully they learn their lesson. Okay. All right. Continuing on. This one is from Barack Obama, the former president of the United States. Actually asked me a question for Ask the King. So I felt that maybe I should bring it up. He says, "Hey, Phil, just wondering what your opinion is of people who play a yearly game every single year and nothing else. For example, there are guys that will play the shit out of the new Call of Duty for a year straight, and then they just move right on to the next one without ever playing the other game franchise or genre at all. I asked because as someone who was like that with Street Fighter in the 90s and 2000s, you would be able to relate to that mindset. Do you think that those people would be better off if they diversified their taste in gaming like you did when you started doing YouTube?" Well, I think there's actually two parts to this question, because not only is there people who just play those games, but then there's people who just create that kind of content, you know what I mean? Like, you've got, all I do is play Call of Duty, right? And then you got, all I do is play Call of Duty and make videos and streams of Call of Duty, and that's what I'm known for on the internet, right? Now, in regards to Barack Obama and his question, he references my past with Street Fighter. So for those who don't know about my past with Street Fighter, all two of you, allow me to elaborate a little bit. I grew up playing Street Fighter in our video arcades. I played Street Fighter 2 through every single version ever. And I basically played them in the arcades as long as arcades held up, until most arcades closed down in the United States that were meant for competitive fighting games and instead became like ticket centers, okay? I had a very heavy presence in the tournament scene. It was in the late 90s that I started attending tournaments regularly, and through the early to mid to even almost late 2000s, I say all the way through like 2007, I was trying to be a major part of the competitive fighting game scene in the United States. And during this time frame, I'd say of roughly 7 to 8 years of my life, I didn't really play many console video games. Really, the only games that I played were Street Fighter, console versions of Street Fighter at home, playing with my friends, then going to the arcades and playing, then going to tournaments and playing. This was my thing. This was my hobby. This was how I got my enjoyment, the competitive fuel of going across the country and facing people from other regions of the world. And the thing was, back then it was very different than today. Today, you have YouTube, you have live streaming. Immediately when a game comes out, you can see all these newly discovered top-tier strategies with every character in every game. It's exposed and ripped apart within a month. Everyone knows everything about every game. Back then, it wasn't like that. It was actually very exciting because you could sit and play with your friends at your local arcade for a month or two, go across state lines and play other people, and all of a sudden you're seeing totally different strategies, totally different things you never even knew existed in the game that are being used at a high competitive level to win. You'll blow you away. Like, your jaw would drop, and you would have so much fun doing that, okay? So for me, competitive Street Fighter became my thing. I didn't really care about other game franchises. I didn't care about anything else. It was like tunnel vision. This is it for me. This is gaming for me, is Street Fighter. And for 8 years of my life, that was it. Like, that was what I was focused on, competitive Street Fighter. Then I decided to change it up around 2007 when I got a back injury and I couldn't really travel that much anymore. You know, I used to be the guy who would drive across the country and I would carpool with 3-4 of my friends in the back of my car and drive us to tournaments and the like. And when I couldn't do that anymore because my back was screwed up, basically that all came to a screeching halt. And I said, I need to find other things to do with my life, and I kind of opened myself up again to where has gaming come. And I was blown away by how far gaming had advanced in the 8 years I'd ignored it. You know, I think the first game I played was Grand Theft Auto 4. I was like, what the shit? A crazy-ass giant sandbox game with a realistic city, all kinds of fun side content, great graphics, robust music and everything. Like, I was like, I can't believe this is what's happened to gaming. It's so different than when I played it, you know, the late 90s to now. What a change in the gaming landscape, right? I had actually missed out on so much. But the thing was, when I only played Street Fighter, I had such excessive tunnel vision, all right, that I basically wrote off everything else as a joke, and it's not fun, it's not interesting. You know, I had a job where I was working at Best Buy, and people in the store were telling me about hot new game releases and how they really enjoyed them. I was like, nah, whatever, Street Fighter, man, I don't care about all that kiddie shit, you know? And I just didn't understand. I was completely oblivious to everything going around me, that there were other amazing gameplay experiences that I was completely missing out on because I was a Street Fighter. I remember at one, when basically Evolution, which is the national fighting game tournament in the United States, kind of the biggest one in the country, started bringing in games that were not considered hardcore competitive fighting games, like Smash Brothers. One year they did Mario Kart for some reason because they wanted sponsorship for Nintendo. So when they brought these games in, I was like so against it. I was like, these games aren't real competitive games. These are for kids. This is kiddie garbage, you know, very ignorant, very uninformed. And quite frankly, again, that tunnel vision. Why would anyone want to play anything but Street Fighter at a high competitive level? All these other games are inferior. I remember one year, Evo shared a tournament venue with a Halo tournament. And all we did the entire tournament was make fun of the Halo players. How they all looked like nerds, and they just sat there playing with their controllers, their stupid shooty games and whatever. Like, it was very stupid, very dumb, very uninformed, very immature. But that's kind of the mindset I was in, because that's all I cared about and all I knew about, okay? So now, the last, 10 years of my life, my horizons have been way broadened and widened. Now I really don't care about the competitive fighting game scene anymore, quite frankly. Honestly, I think that it's changed way for the worse. Although some people would argue it's changed for the better because it got bigger and more popular. I think it's way different now. Back then I played competitive fighting games for the love of the game. Today most people play it to get attention for themselves and to make money, which is so different than playing it I did it for competitive purposes. I got that amazing feeling of learning something new, meeting people all around the country. You see what I mean? So even though I had tunnel vision, I kind of feel that I was doing it for the right reasons. But ever since I started being a YouTuber and playing a variety of games, I'll openly admit, man, was I just so biased and wrong about a lot of the stuff that I had these misconceptions about back then. Games that I thought weren't competitive, they absolutely are. Just very, very ignorant and young and stupid, right? So in that regard, getting back to the question that Barack Obama asked, he says, what about people who literally only play one game franchise, that's all they care about? I can understand it. If you're 100% into Call of Duty, and every time you sit down and you play Call of Duty, you have a blast, and you love playing against people online and having different gameplay experiences depending on who you're playing against, and you travel to events and tournaments where you meet other people and you're having this good, robust, fun experience for yourself, you could totally get caught up in just Call of Duty, and I can understand why that becomes your end-all be-all. There's people like that with Minecraft. There's people like that right now with Fortnite, okay? And I get that. I totally get it. And I understand it. But I do feel that when you enclose yourself to just one small percentage of what's actually out there when it comes to the big world of gaming, when you actually don't look at the whole gamut of what's available and you're just looking at this one little pinpoint in the corner, you basically become very ignorant and you become very misinformed. And that's okay if that's all you care about. But for me, now I go back at those 8 years of my life and I'm like, man, there was so much shit that I missed out on as a gamer because I was so into Street Fighter. And now it's cool because I am a content creator, I get to go back and experience all those things that I missed out on during that whole PS2, GameCube, Xbox style era, okay? So, yes, that being said, I'm going to get another idiot. Let's get rid of him. Another fucking asshole in the stream chat. I get it. If you're someone who's just into... And by the way, it was funny because when I first started covering YouTube, alright, I went to a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 premiere party that was held at my local mall. When Modern Warfare 2 came out, it was a ginormous, huge release. Everyone wanted the game. There was hundreds of people who showed up. They were playing the game in the mall. They were having fun. They were lining up to pick up their copy of the game. It was like a big media event. And these people were people who primarily, this is all they play. All they care about is Call of Duty. They've been waiting all year for Modern Warfare 2. Finally comes out, it's released. Now they're super ecstatic about it, and they can't wait to get their hands on it, right? I get it. But at the same time, I do think it's kind of, you're really shortchanging yourself if all you do is focus in on one very narrow genre of game, and you're missing out on all the other possibilities that are out there. But at the same time, if that's your cup of tea and that's all you care about, I get it. But just don't be ignorant and insult other gamers, because that's what I used to do. I used to be an ignorant, immature young guy who was like, oh, people who play Smash, those are just dumb kids, and people who play Mario Kart, and people who are playing these RPGs, fuck all that shit. That's just kiddie shit. Street Fighter's where it's at, man. I'm a real man, and I flex my muscles as I go to Street Fighter tournaments because I'm a real man who plays Street Fighter. It was so stupid and barbaric and just dumb, and now I know that, but back then, that was like how we all were. Everyone in the community was like that. Like, fuck everyone else, just play Street Fighter. Okay, now, the other thing that I just want to briefly address, content creators who only play one style of game, that's perfectly fine. I think that there's enough variety out there when it comes to content creation that there's definitely a place for people to only play one style of game, or even one franchise in particular. There are people who still just play Call of Duty, and that's okay. I mean, you're severely limiting yourself in the kind of content you can put out, and understand that there's going to be a time when, if those games lose prominence, you're pretty much screwed. You know what I mean? Like, what if all you do is play Street Fighter, and then Street Fighter, 5, as is what's happening right now, is losing prominence. It's kind of falling out of favor. No one really cares about it anymore. What are you going to do? What other content are you going to make, right? So you got to be careful about that. You're pigeonholing yourself when there's so much available out there. I always say when it comes to someone like that it's a safer bet to be someone like Maximilian, who, yeah, he does competitive fighting game stuff. He does a lot of it. But at the same time, he diversifies himself and plays a lot of other games so that he's not pigeonholed into this one thing. And God forbid, if fighting games have another crash like they actually did, because they did. Fighting games crashed about 2002 through like 2007. Until Street Fighter 4 came out, there was like a 6-year gap where nothing was going on major with fighting games and no one really cared about them. If you're a content creator, you don't want to have a 6-year drought. Now you have nothing to do, right? You got to diversify yourself. And Maximilian's been someone who's been very smart about it and done that so that he has an audience that will watch him play other games too, so that he can keep making fun content even if fighting games fall through. So I always give credit to him because he knows what he's doing. He's a very smart, intelligent guy with the content creation that he's done over the years. Fart blasted face tipped me $1, wondering if I will take another shower session so you can see my hairy shoulders. Maybe. Hey, Build Up tipped me $1 and says, I'm going to sell bacon cheeseburger water. Your fan base will buy it at $50 a pop. Yes, in fact, that was one of the new plugs I was going to start doing on this stream. DSP's cheeseburger water. Only it's actually going to be $40 a pop because I want to try to appeal more to a more widespread audience. Yeah, I understand not everyone has that kind of money. So, anyway, thank you for the $2 in tips there. I appreciate it. Such intelligence from some people, I tell you. All right, I think we have time for one more quick question, and then what we'll do is we'll take a break, and then we'll come back. All right, so the next question is from Tyler Simba, and Tyler Simba asked the following. Phil, I've been a fan of yours since 2011. I was wondering, with the Nintendo Switch Lite coming out in September, do you think the Nintendo 3DS or 2DS is finally dying out? Keep up the great work and stay positive, and hopefully things will work out for you. I would say I don't think they're dying out. I still think there's a humongous customer base for the 3DS and 2DS, or whatever you want to call it, because there's a million models of it now. But if you haven't noticed, the game development for it has slowed down. Like, for example, when I first started as a content creator on YouTube, there were games constantly out for it that people would ask me, are you going to play this one? Are you going to play this one? Then I finally got a capture device for the thing in like 2015, and I maybe played 3 or 4 games on it. And since then, there's really like nothing that's really interesting to me as a mainstream gamer. Like, I just don't really care about the games that come out for the 3DS anymore. They're just more like frivolous, things that don't really interest me. I mean, at one point, there used to be major game releases for handheld consoles that it was must-have, right? And now it's kind of like not anymore. You're right. Cody Carl, or excuse me, not Cody Carl's, like Tyler Simba, sorry. I saw Cody Carl's in the stream chat. You're right, Tyler Simba. With the Switch now basically going to be sold as a handheld, I think what's going to happen is you can count on most people who are looking for handhelds are going to go to the Switch because now you got the better graphics. You know what I mean? The more robust gameplay experiences on the go on this new Switch version. And the price is good. The price is what, $200? Which, I mean, honestly, the 3DS, sure, I think you can get a 3DS now for about $100. But still, if you can get graphics that are so much better, big first-party gameplay experiences that are crazy robust and interesting, versus, oh, here's kind of a watered-down version with a touchscreen feature on the 3DS. The other thing is, the touchscreens, the 3D feature, those things don't sell games anymore. At one point, those were hot. Like 10 years ago, oh man, I want the 3D feature on my 3DS and I want touchscreen gameplay. No one cares about that. Those gimmicks have completely died. So, really, you know, the Switch is sufficient. And I think you're right. I think that now that the Switch is going to get a handheld portable version, this is the beginning of the signs of the end of the life cycle of the DS in general. I think what's going to happen is game developers are going to say, well, I could publish a game for the Switch, and I could appeal to two completely different audiences, a home console audience as well as the portable console, portable audience, or I could just develop for the DS and only the portable audience. Obviously, I want to sell twice as many copies, so I'm going to make it for the Switch. You see what I mean? It's a no-brainer, and what Nintendo is basically doing, they're undercutting themselves, and I think they know this. I think they've seen the DS sales decline every year over year, and that people don't really care about the DS anymore, and that's why they're doing this with the Switch this year. That's what I really think happened. And essentially, they could have sold the Switch as a handheld console up front, but they knew that they wanted to get it as an installed console in people's homes first before they did that, and they wanted to milk as much as they could out of the DS before the end of its life cycle. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break. All right, if you're here live on stream, it'll be about a 10-15 minute break. I'll come back, part 2. If you're on YouTube, I'm just going to end the part, and we'll come back with part 2. We got many more questions still from the forums, plus Twitter questions, plus all stream questions. So, thanks so much, everyone, for everything. I appreciate it, and I'll be back shortly with more. Thanks, everyone. See you in a bit.